Good morning. Tony Hammock here with the new gold standard at Axe Media Group. Wednesday morning, the 6th, I believe it is. November 6th, 9 a.m. It's a gorgeous day out there in Springfield. It's a little rainy, but that's okay. The weatherman was right this time, and we had a wonderful day yesterday, all sun and blue skies and all that kind of good stuff. But I've got a good show for you this morning, I think. A couple of new things I'm going to throw out, and we'll see how they go and stuff. Hopefully they're ones that will work and stuff. The one I like the most, and I actually get the most positive feedback on, is our stewardship program. So I thought this morning I would start with that. We're going to start at a high spot and hopefully go higher. But as far as the stewardship goes, what I've been trying to do, if you're a new listener, is each week go through one lesson from a stewardship course that I find. And we're on our second program. This is lesson 4. And let's just start with this. This one's titled Untrustworthy. Proverbs 11:28 uncovers a powerful truth. He who trusts in his riches will fall, but the righteous will flourish like foliage. Solomon has given us an important warning. He who trusts in his riches will fall. Why does he tell us this? Because it is our natural tendency when prosperity comes to trust in that prosperity and to have that become our source of security. As Psalm 62:10 says, if riches increase, do not set your heart upon them. There is a tendency in every human heart to do just that, and that is why God warns us. If the blessing comes, if prosperity comes, if you achieve a degree of success, do not set your heart on the wealth. Instead, make your trust remains in God, because riches are not trustworthy. In fact, if you trust in your wealth, you will fall. The New Testament echoes this same truth in 1 Timothy 6:17. In this passage, Paul is writing to his son in the faith, Timothy. He is giving him some instructions to pass along to other believers. Command those who are rich in this present age not to be haughty, nor to trust in uncertain riches, but in living God, who gives us richly all things to enjoy. Like Solomon, Paul is warning us that riches are uncertain. Do not put your trust in them. Instead, make sure your trust is in God. If riches increase, do not set your heart on them. And I like the last part. He said to put your trust in God, who gives us richly all things to enjoy. Where is your trust today? Are you trusting in your money and wealth, or is the object of your trust God? I hope you will answer honestly. If you find yourself trusting in riches, just remember they are untrustworthy. And that was based on Bible verses Proverbs 11:28, Psalm 62:10, and 1 Timothy 6:17. And I think that for some of you that maybe new listeners, the objective of this program is really to kind of share with the listeners of the Axe Media Group some alternative assets that they may consider. But as the stewardship course says, that's not everything. I mean, let's always make sure that we've got our trust in God and keep God first in our priorities and stuff. And with all that said, just remember that, any of the views expressed here on this show are those of myself, Tony Hammock, and they're not of the Axe Ministry or the Axe Media Group. We're grateful that Jim Whining and Pam, his wife, and Dr. Paul give us a chance on a weekly basis to come in here and do this show, and it's been a lot of fun. Met a lot of fun people. We had the telethon last week, and I know that we ended up with about, what was it, $6,000? Yeah, about $6,000 raised, which was a little short of our goal. So we may be talking about some fundraising ideas as the show goes on from week to week and stuff. I usually try to have a guest speaker. Today I don't, but that's okay because I have lots of stuff I want to cover. And one of them is, I know in the past I've talked a lot about 7K metals. And, this ends up being a little bit of an ad for 7K metals. It's not really intended to. I mean, we're trying to find the best value for your dollar if, in fact, you decide to add metals, gold and silver and palladium and platinum and things like that to your portfolio, which most of the large money managers, the Ray Dalios of the world, folks like that think you should have 10% of your portfolio in gold. There's actually shows in the future where we might get into cryptos, and I know there's a lot of folks out there that think that people should have like 1% of their portfolio in cryptos like Bitcoin and stuff. Obviously, that's at the 1% level for a reason. That's just for certain folks who understand the risks involved and so forth and so on. And not all these ideas are for everyone. But if you do have a portfolio and you don't have gold or silver in it, you might consider them. If you have a financial advisor you work with, please ask them about that. If you don't, you're always welcome to call me. My number is 417-755-0700. You can reach me at tony@thegoldaffiliate.com for an email address, and I'd be happy to respond and so forth. But one thing I thought would be fun today is yesterday I got my coin of the month from 7K Metals, and I thought what I would do is just kind of show you what comes in the envelope, because it's actually getting to be something I look forward to every month. Comes FedEx, so that's kind of fun. And then inside is, this bubble wrap with something inside it. I think it might be a coin. Oh, look, we have a new MS70 2019 $1 Eagle. This is basically 1 ounce of silver. And what they're doing is, right now there's a series of all 50 states. So this particular one, if you can see this on YouTube or Facebook Live, this particular one is Florida, which if the weather continues like this in Springfield, I know some of you may be headed to Florida rather soon. In fact, some of our friends have already taken off here in the last week or two. But this is MS70, which means it is the highest quality you can find. You can see it's encased in this plastic holder, so therefore it is in perfect condition. Yeah, it's actually been rated by NGC, which is the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, and you get one of these a month if you go with one of their programs. They've actually got 3. This is the least expensive. This is $95 a month, and you get the 1 coin. You get a few other things here in a minute. They do have one that's $125. The coin you get with this one is always going to be an MS70 silver dollar. The other one, the next one up, is like $125, and you get a random coin. So, like 1 month, I got a Spider-Man commemorative coin. It was 100% silver, or it was 99.99999% silver. Highest quality you can get, and all this kind of stuff. But the amazing thing about that, I don't know how amazing snuck in there. Maybe that was one of those weird things, because they're always talking about the amazing Spider-Man. But anyway, the amazing thing about that was I got that coin, and a couple weeks went by, and I was talking to somebody, and they were talking about what they were going on eBay. So I went to eBay, and I plugged in, that exact coin and stuff. And, I mean, I'd only had it like a month or two. And on eBay, they were already going for like $145. So, the neat thing about these coins is they have their face value, which you would never want to use because it's only $1. You've got their value they're going because they're an ounce of silver, which right now is probably somewhere around $23, $24. And then you've got, in some cases, the collectible value, which like in the Spider-Man one was a little higher and stuff. So you get a coin. Now, another thing you get, which is something I spent some time on a couple of shows ago, you get, in this particular one, a $125 travel savings card from 7K Getaway. And, I was very skeptical about this when I first started getting this, because for those of you that don't know me, I traveled for 30 years, from 87 to really up through 12 and a little bit since then and stuff. But I mean, every week I was traveling, so I got to know all the ins and outs of, the travel world, how to upgrade if possible, get on the concierge levels at hotels, get the right, bookings and all this kind of stuff. And I actually had a chance to use one of these here a while back. A couple of weekends ago, my family and I went to Tulsa. Our 18-year-old goes to the University of Tulsa. And I was able to save $88 off the listed price of a room at the Marriott. And that sold me. I mean, because I'm lifetime platinum member at Marriott. I've stayed there so many times that, they know my first name. Norm! No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, and so you would think I would be able to get the best price possible when I go online with my membership number and stuff like that. And this even saved me $43 off that price. So these Getaway cards are valuable. We're getting ready to use a couple more here coming up at Thanksgiving because we're going to run over to Dayton, Ohio to see our oldest son and his wife. But this is $125. So, just to kind of carry this thought forward, if I'm paying $95 for the monthly coin and I'm getting a travel card for $125 and I use it, in a way, I've gotten an ounce of silver for free. In fact, in a way, they've kind of paid me to take an ounce of silver, but you got to use the card. If you just throw the card in the top drawer of your desk and forget about it, then you've paid the $95 for this coin and stuff. I kind of stopped there in the middle. I mentioned the Spider-Man coin was option 2, so there's $95 a month for the MS70. There's $125 for a random silver coin, and then they've got another one that's I want to say $250, and it's for a monthly gold coin. And you could do all three if you want, if you were so inclined and stuff. I've chosen just for the moment to do the one. And as I said, I end up with a coin, I end up with a travel card, and oh yeah, this is just kind of talking about the 50-state series. I've heard that next month's will be New York. So there's a little card in here that talks about year of issue 2019, the U.S. Mint, $1, 1 troy ounce, metal purity is .999, metal composition, fine silver, and there was only 5,500 of these made. So that is what I got yesterday delivered and continue to get on a monthly basis. Now, the other thing they did is they threw in a little update. This is called November 2019 Vault Report, and there's a lot of information in here that you would not find of interest unless you were participating in 7K. But I will tell you that the founder's message is very interesting. This month marks their 3-year anniversary, and the founders talk about whenever a vision is cast to undertake a massive disruption in long-lasting industries, 2 things happen. The first is that people doubt. We love it when people start doubting because it just leaves more room for us to push harder and get ahead of anybody else that might try. And then it says, but remember, the doubters always seem to come around because they can't deny momentum and success. The second is that there is always a period of learning and growing. In the early part of the new company, it often feels like a pace is a walk rather than a run, and so forth and so on. They talk about this. And what they're talking about with this disruptive quality of 7K is, and for those of you that might remember the first time I brought them up, they have an interesting strategy in the fact that they have a membership program with 3 levels of membership that makes it much like a Sam's Club or a Costco or an Amazon Prime, in the fact that if you pay the membership, you not only can reap a lot of the benefits, but the main one is you can get gold and silver at dealer cost. And I got to tell you, for a little while, I was kind of skeptical about that too. I've learned to be kind of a skeptic over the years and stuff like that. And here recently, I went in and I started checking some prices. I'll get into that maybe just here in a little bit more after we get past this. But that's the disruptive part, is if you start, if you're buying gold and silver, for whatever reason, and you get a price from some other entity out there, be it a coin dealer or online or wherever it may be, and you check the price and what you're getting for the price, and then if you would check the price for the dealer cost section on the 7K website, and the 7K website is thegoldaffiliate.com. And you can click on the little 3 bars up there in the top left, and the menu comes down, and you'll see a couple of different options. And one is, I believe, dealer cost, and or dealer direct, I think they call it. And if you go in there, you can see some of the pricing and so forth. And that's what's disruptive, because when you get into buying gold and silver, you'll find that there's a lot of different folks in the food chain, and each time there's a different person, there's a different markup. So I've checked the price with some of the options or acquisitions I've made of late, not only for myself but for clients, and they do indeed have some great pricing, especially if you get into the larger quantities where you're buying, $5,000, $10,000 or more. But anyway, the thing that was in here that was kind of interesting is they do have a Black Friday sale going on. So if you're interested in having gold and silver as something you may be giving at Christmas, there's also a jewelry part to the menu. There's the dealer directs part of the menu and stuff like that. So it might be a great way to go in and get some really nice deals on Black Friday. And once again, you can find those at www.thegoldaffiliate.com. So that's all the stuff that came in that month's shipment. Let's get into some other housekeeping here before I forget and we go too much further. I always like to kind of get into the pricing, and let's get into that here real quick. Yesterday, gold got hammered because of some of the announcements that came out. What you'll find is that there's short-term speculators and then there's long-term investors. And if you're a speculator, that's your business and stuff. I always find that to be a little bit more risky, just because of the volatility of the different instruments out there. Long term is kind of the way I like to look at gold and silver. But right now, as of 9/18 on November 6th, the spot price for gold is $1,488.30. It's up $4.10 so far today. Silver, the spot price is $17.61. Platinum is $930. Palladium is $1,796. And rhodium is $5,370. And I got to tell you, going back to palladium, palladium's up $16 today, and it's been making a huge move of late. So, if you're not interested in the gold and the silver, but you're looking for a metal, an alternative asset, let me know about, or give me a call about palladium, because it's definitely got a huge demand for it. When we get into the other metals, we go by pounds. Those first ones were all ounces. Copper is $2.67 a pound. Nickel's $7.38. Aluminum's 82 cents. Zinc is $1.15. Lead's 97 cents. And uranium is $24.20. And I actually saw an article here, I want to say Monday, that was talking about uranium and how that is part of the industry that has some huge potential. Crude oil is $57.67 a barrel, and right now the Dow Jones Industrial Average is down $1.60. It's $27,491.03. So another interesting day on Wall Street. But those are the prices. Let me check the news here real quick. Oh, yeah. There was some interesting articles. I'm just looking at some of the articles here to see if there's anything newsworthy or noteworthy as far as this show goes. so some of the authors I like to follow. One's the most recent here, Silver, double bottom before any cyclical upward movement. And that was published yesterday. The long-term silver chart shows before any cyclical upward movement an important element, a large double bottom. Not a double bottom for a short period, but for a long period. The period between the two lows varies between 2 and 4 and 5 years. The previous bottom was around the end of 15, and in fact, after 4 years, we see an important reaction that broke a bearish trend line from the 2011 top. It says buying the second bottom has always given in subsequent years strong gains, minimum up 65%, maximum up 1,000%. And that's by Stefano Boccioli. And there's a chart here and stuff. Any of these things I ever quote, if you'd like to have them for yourself, once again, let me know, and I will send you the link. Once again, Tony at thegoldaffiliate.com, and you can get word to me there on an email, or you can call me, 417-755-0700. Is Matt just outside the door there? Oh, I was going to say, it may be time for the gold microphone. While we're waiting for that, I've got some other things that I wouldn't mind covering. And one of them is, you'll find that I am a nut for self-help stuff. Books, tapes, videos. There he is. We'll get into that in here in a minute. I was just going to say, I was at a great point where we could have the gold microphone.
I heard you might be moving to Florida.
What?
I heard you might be moving to Florida.
No.
I was watching. Can you hear me okay?
I can't hear you yet.
Oh, you can't hear me at all? Oh, I got to turn on the gold microphone, Tony.
Oh, here we go.
Sorry.
Now I can hear
Is
you.
a lot better?
Oh, yeah, there you go.
All right. Let's go.
Mr. Matt.
Ready, Jay? Yeah, I'm ready. All right, let's do it. Hey, everybody. Matt here from the producer's desk. And obviously, you can see everything behind me. I need to put up some artwork back there or something so you guys can have something to look at besides my mug. But today's show is brought to you by the naturalsolutionstore.bz. That's right, naturalsolutionstore.bz, where you can go for all your natural solution needs. I don't know if that's actually the words I should use there, but today we're talking about berberine HCI. Berberine has antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, and immune-enhancing properties. It's effective against a wide range of bacteria, protozoa, and fungi. So it'll make me disappear because I'm a fun guy. Anyways, sorry, I ran in here. I'm a little out of breath. It can be used topically on cuts and other wounds also, and is perhaps most commonly known or commonly used to treat gastrointestinal issues, including, I hate saying this word, I'm a little immature about it, traveler's diarrhea and from food poisoning. Preliminary research suggests that berberine's beneficial effects may cascade into helping many other different conditions like cancer, blood sugar. So what it does is it's been shown to lower cholesterol, lower blood sugar, and assist with weight loss and improve your heart health. So go online. If you're concerned about any of that, go online, naturalsolutionstore.bz, and pick up a bottle today. Back to you, Tony.
Hey, thanks, Matt. Always like Matt's breaks, thrown in with some humor and stuff. Anyway, where I was getting to before that break was, so I'm a sucker.
I was just joking about when you said if the weather doesn't change,
Oh, got it, yeah. I am a sucker for self-help stuff. And if you are familiar with that niche genre, you are familiar with Napoleon Hill. And a while back at the bookstore, I picked up the Think and Grow Rich, but this is the now revised and updated for the 21st century version. So if you ever read Think and Grow Rich, there's a updated version, and this man was incredible with his ability to help people, and most of it was dealing with those 6 inches between the two ears. But this morning I came across this little blurb here that I thought might be kind of a nice addition for a couple reasons, and that is we just got through talking about 7K, and 7K's got kind of a disruptive style to what they're doing with helping folks add gold and silver to their lives and live the gold and silver lifestyle and stuff. But anyway, this is called the new way of marketing services. Jobs are now partnerships, and it's just a couple paragraphs. I'm going to read them real quick. Men and women who want to market their services to best advantage in the future must recognize the stupendous change that has taken place in the relationship between employer and employee. The time will come when the golden rule and not the rule of gold will be the dominating factor in the marketing of merchandise as well as services. The future relationship between employers and their employees will be more in the nature of a partnership consisting of A, the employer, B, the employee, and C, most importantly, the public they serve. This new way of marketing services is called new for many reasons. First, both the employer and the employee of the future will be considered as fellow employees whose business it will be to serve the public efficiently. In times past, employers and employees have bartered among themselves, driving the best bargains they could with one another, not considering that in the final analysis they were in reality bargaining at the expense of the third party, the public they served. In the future, both employers and employees will recognize that they are no longer privileged to drive bargains at the expense of those whom they serve. The real employer of the future will be the public. This should be kept uppermost in mind by every person seeking to market their services effectively. Courtesy and service are the watchwords of merchandising today. They apply to the person who is marketing their services even more directly than to the employer they serve, because in the final analysis, both employer and employee are employed by the public they serve. If they fail to serve well, they pay by the loss of their privilege of serving. And I just thought that was kind of interesting for a couple reasons. One is the network I'm on, Acts Ministry. I got to tell you, there's some folks here that do some incredible service work. Matt and Jason here in the studio both volunteer their time. They're constantly here trying to get the Acts Media Group up and running and more efficient and everything. I mean, I don't know how many hours they put in last week on the telethon, but there was a lot. And then you've got the Jim Winings of the world and the Pam Winings and so forth and so on. So there's a lot of service work right here and everything. But the other thing that kind of jogged my mind this morning was the 7K metals with their disruptive style of pricing. And I'm not going to spend a lot more time on them because we've already spent a good portion of the show on that. But I just thought that was just, one of those things that kind of hit me that, anytime you've got a company that is doing something that is disruptive and, takes that risk of upsetting the normal status quo and stuff, you usually have a situation where, they're going to be very successful once word gets out. And so, I don't know, that just kind of hit there, and I thought it was kind of neat. As far as the other things that I thought were interesting, I watch a lot of shows, interviews, read a lot, all this kind of stuff. And yesterday, Ray Dalio, and if you don't know who Ray Dalio is, that's okay. I didn't know who Ray Dalio was a while back, but he manages, I think it's called Bridgewater Associates. It's, a $1 billion hedge fund, and he is often quoted in the different press that follows the financial industry because of not only how much money he manages, but how well he does. His performance has been phenomenal over the last couple of decades and stuff. And I saw him interviewed, and he had some very interesting comments. And, one of the things he was talking about was the big squeeze. And what he was referring to is, and, we've talked about it on this show a lot, and we're real good, I'm real good at acknowledging all the problems, And what the big squeeze is, we've been talking about the debt, the national debt. And the national debt is, in fact, let me just tell you exactly what it is here in just a second. if you're ever wanting to know what the national debt is, you can go to usdebtclock.org. And when I made this slide that I'm looking here on my computer, the national debt was $22.5 trillion. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that's a lot of money. And so what Ray was referring to is not only do we have the national debt, which, at some point we're going to have to focus on, if nothing else, because, we've all got loved ones and children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, that they're going to have to deal with it. And so their lifestyles may be much different than any of ours have been, just because of the burden of the debt service, and or worse, what may happen, if, there's a revolution, let's say. But anyway, he was talking about the big squeeze, because then he started factoring in the impact from all the entitlement programs and then the pension obligations. And, as these all start to kind of mount on top of this $22.5 trillion, you get some numbers that are just unbelievable. And there again, they're numbers that are going to have to be dealt with. There's going to be a day of reckoning, because you've got a lot of folks that are depending on those pensions. And you've got a lot of folks that are depending on those entitlement programs. So, if there comes a day where those two things are not something we can trust and people are disappointed, you're going to have some folks that are going hungry and not able to pay their rent, and, on and on and on. And so I was listening to Ray, and I was, thinking of this big squeeze, as he called it. And I got to thinking about, okay, you know what, that's neat and all, and I've got this little radio show that we do, and I can sit here and I can talk about it like Chicken Little, like the sky is going to fall, and oh my God, what are we going to do? And, nobody believes me, nobody's buying gold or silver, nobody's, doing any of the things they should do. But what I thought might be kind of fun would be, let's talk about solutions. Let's talk about that. And I know we've got the ability for you to text in to Matt or Jason or call in. This is a weekly show, so if you don't get the opportunity this morning, maybe you can do it between now and the next show, because I would love to hear some of your ideas on how we can fix this. Because, I think that, your politicians, they're not going to acknowledge it because they want votes. What politician's going to count on getting your vote if they're up there with a campaign that's talking about, we're going to have to cut out the entitlement programs? And if you don't know what the entitlement programs are, there are things like Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, all these things that ever since FDR, a lot of us have been either depending on and or looking forward to. And trust me, I'm 61, so I'm almost on the verge of, getting to where some of these entitlement programs may be able to benefit me. So I'm not, on a platform where I'm saying that's the way to go. I'm just trying to say there's got to be some solutions. What are they? Now, one thing I will tell you, as far as my opinion, is, do you think taxes are going to go up? Let's talk about that for a second. Do you think taxes are going to go up? Right now, we have some of the lowest taxes this country has ever seen as far as income tax and some of the other taxes that we deal with. I know that's an easy thing to complain about, and I do the same thing once I see what's taken out of my check, or, at the end of the year when I file my taxes, and, all those different things and stuff, property taxes and so forth and so on. Sales tax here in Springfield now is 8.1%. Where does that money go? But my point is do you think taxes are going to go up? And that may be one of the areas that Washington decides will help to get this $22.5 trillion back to a more manageable number. So, there's a lot of thoughts out there. There's people that like this, the power of zero. When Ryan Long was in town back on October 10th, and we did our little gold and silver workshop at Prima's in Chesterfield Village, he brought up towards the end of his presentation the power of zero, which is a program, excuse me, that I'm very much familiar with. There was a gentleman here a couple years ago that wrote a book called The Power of Zero, and the concept is based a lot on that, which is if you think that taxes are going to go up, and right now we're talking about that may be one of the solutions that Washington comes up with to offset this deficit. Right now might be the time you want to think about cashing out your IRA or converting it to a Roth IRA. And the reason being is yeah, you'd have to settle up with Uncle Sam on those two ideas, but it might be a lot less expensive than waiting 5, 10, 15, 20 years, however many years it is, and then starting to take required minimum distributions or withdrawals or income or systematic withdrawals, whatever it may be as far as your choice of income, because taxes may be so much higher. And the other part of that Power of Zero, before I move on, was the whole idea was there's a couple of vehicles out there that people can invest in that if and when they start to take money out, it can be tax-free. And so therefore, if you are getting Social Security and you don't want to push your Social Security, or I should say your overall tax, into an area where you've got alternative minimum tax, and now your Social Security is taxable, it makes a lot of sense. It behooves you to have your other items in your portfolio besides the Social Security in instruments that will create tax-free income. And so one would be a Roth. Roth IRAs have been out now for a number of years, and the nice thing about Roths is not only does the account grow tax-deferred, but once you start taking income out, it's tax-free. And, some companies actually have Roth 401ks as an option now, which all that means is that it's after-tax dollars that are going into the Roth. So you've paid taxes on them, but now they're going into the Roth, they're growing tax-deferred, and when you take income out, it's tax-free. The other items are, believe it or not, insurance policies. I mean, there's some nice permanent insurance policies out there. A lot of folks kind of just jump on the Index Universal Life as the first one. It's probably the most popular policy sold these days. But really, a lot of your permanent policies that accumulate cash value, if and when you start to take cash out, it could be designed to where it's, basically a loan, so to speak, and therefore it's tax-free. And there's all kinds of strategies and things. I mean, if you're ever interested in this, I've got software that can help design a program that can do that. If you've got an insurance agent or a financial advisor that has an insurance license, you might go to them and bounce this Power of Zero off them. And there may be some that actually have, I believe the author's name was McKnight, the book, and they can go through it with you because it's a powerful thought. And I'm getting back to my idea on what's the solutions. I mean, what I'm looking for is let's come up with something. If you've got an idea on how we can do this, I mean, let's think about it. Taxes, entitlement programs. Oh, here's one no one's come up with yet, but I mean, we might as well throw it out there and get it on the table, is war. I mean, when you look at the U.S. history and where we were before World War II, it was kind of handy. I mean, as much as I hate to say, that I would ever endorse war, but I mean, the U.S. sure geared up to fight, that war, the Great Generation, and then from that had the residual effect of all of the, manufacturing and so forth after the war, and that's why the 50s were so productive. And obviously rolled us into the early 60s and so forth. And, I know there's a lot of you that are very familiar with history, so I don't want to get too far off on that. But, I mean, maybe war is, something that is, something that could help. I mean, if all of a sudden we're manufacturing more goods and, there's more people working and, this and that and so forth. I mean, I'm at this point, I'm just speculating, so don't criticize me for that. I'm just trying to, I guess, get your creative juices flowing as far as what can we do. I mean, we've got politicians in Washington, we've got politicians in Jeff City, you know, everybody obviously wants to get elected or reelected. And, you know, if anything, probably our politicians in Jeff City are doing a way better job than the politicians in Washington. But I think what I'm trying to get to is the politicians in Washington probably are not going to be coming up with some of these ideas because they're just not that likely to get more votes if they're talking about raising taxes or they're talking about cutting entitlement programs and whatever else they can come up with. So I'm send it to me. I mean, if you got Matt's number or Jason's number or the phone number here at Axe Media Group, can they use this Veterans Crisis Hotline, or is that just for?
No, they can use that's a 24 hour, 7 day a week.
So 1-800-273-8255, extension 1. Okay. And you know, I mean, I'd love to hear from you because I mean, you know, one, if they're valid and stuff, we'll definitely read them on the air.
That veterans, that's a hotline for like crisis, veterans crisis.
Oh.
They won't come to us.
Okay.
If they know a veteran that is suicidal or depressed or having problems, they can call that number and talk to somebody.
Okay. Disregard that for this project then. Would the other number be 417-597-4821? There we go. 417-597-4821. And let us hear what your thoughts are on a solution. And maybe it doesn't have to be a solution that, you know, covers the entire 22.5 trillion. Maybe it's one that can knock off, you know, 1 or 2 trillion. We can work on the balance and stuff. But anyway, you want one more golden microphone spot?
Why not? Let's do it. The golden microphone, huh?
The golden microphone.
Let's go on over here. Hey, everybody. Matt here again. Glad to see you guys are sticking with us, and thanks, Tony, for doing what you do. We appreciate it. So today we've been talking about naturalsolutionstore.bz, which is a big-time sponsor of not just this program, but all of our programs here at Axe Ministry, Axe Media Group, Axe Television Network, and AxeRadio.com. So go on there, check it out. I use a salve on there called Super Hemp Balm for pain. Let's say you got hurt knees, hurt shoulders, arthritis, things like that. I even have a friend that he gets a jar every once in a while. They last a long time. He gets headaches sometimes, and he told me he'll take a little bit and he'll dab it right there on his temple, and the headache goes away. So you can buy a jar of this stuff and try it on as many pains as you can. It is not to be, it's not to be used internally, but yeah, it's a really good product. And not only does it stop the pain, but I believe, and Jay believes, that it also helps to heal it faster. So go online, naturalsolutionstore.bz, and check it out and pick yourself up a bottle or a jar of it today. Now, there is also the Helping Hands Fund, which you can go on axemediagroup.com and get information about that. I think you can email 4321axe@gmail.com to get an application for the Helping Hands Fund. What it does is it helps to pay for a majority of the cost of these for people who can't afford it and need them. So go online and check it out. Back to you.
Thank you, Matt. We only have a few minutes left, but what I think I'll try and do in those minutes is talk about 2 other things real quick. One is I'm going to start doing a local workshop, and it's probably going to be on Saturday afternoons. By next week's show, I'll have a venue and a time. Right now, I'm kind of leaning towards Saturday at noon, but it may end up being a Tuesday evening, you know, like 6:30 type thing. And we're just going to start doing it weekly and talking about, you know, the benefits of gold and silver in your portfolio. And here's why. A lot of people, you know, you're tuning in, you're catching 3 minutes of the show, and then you're tuning out, you're at work, you got to go, you got to take care of the kids, whatever the case may be. But if you can come and hear the presentation live, then it may have, you know, a full impact as far as why this makes sense. And what we're going to talk about is learning how to leverage silver and gold to create generational wealth. And, you know, we've talked about that a little bit in the past shows and stuff. I mean, when you get into gold and silver, you're talking about money. And this has been money, considered money for 5,000 years. It is not fiat currency. And after 1971, when President Nixon removed the gold standard, you know, took the backing of gold away from the U.S. dollar, the U.S. dollar became fiat currency, as is every currency in the world right now. And all fiat currency means is that a government has said you will use this to do business. It's basically like currency by force. So we'll be talking about how to create generational wealth, how to create a lifestyle powered by gold and silver. You'll get gold and silver bars, bullion, coins at wholesale prices with no minimums. That'll obviously be either through the 7K idea or my other company I like is National Gold Consultants, which, you know, we had Ryan Long here back on October 10th. You know, when it comes right down to it, I've probably got a dozen companies that fill different niches. You know, for example, I've got one company over in France that their specialty is if you want to get gold and silver and you want it outside of the banking system, you can do it through them. We'll talk about how to protect yourself from the declining dollar with the purchasing power of silver and gold. If you're not familiar with it, in 1913, a dollar was a dollar. A dollar was 100 cents. And as of the beginning of this year, that same dollar has about a 5-cent purchasing power. That's how much of a decrease you've seen in the purchasing power of your dollars. Or another way to say it would be, let's say it was 1965 and you had 25 $100 bills. You also had, let's say, 2,500 ounces of silver. Well, you could have, in 65, you could have bought a brand new Ford Mustang, the original pony car. It was about $2,500 when it first came out. That was Lee Iacocca's baby. And so if you'd used your $2,500 to do that, you would have had a pretty neat little spiffy car there for a while. Well, today, if you had $2,500 U.S. dollars, you probably could not buy the tires and wheels that go with that car, just because $2,500 doesn't buy that much anymore. It might buy a used car somewhere in Greene County, but it's probably going to be, you know, an older model with a lot of miles on it and all that kind of stuff. Whereas if you still had your 2,500 ounces of silver at today's price, you could buy 2 Mustangs. So that's kind of, you know, trying to, I guess, maybe give an example of what we're talking about with this silver and gold versus the U.S. dollar. Another one is, let's say in 65 you had $10,000, or you had $10,000 back then in gold. And let's say on the first opportunity you took the $10,000 and you bought a house. Well, back in 65, you probably could have bought a nice little ranch, 3-bedroom, you know, 2-bath house somewhere in Greene County, somewhere in the country, and probably would have been happy, especially if you'd taken care of it and stuff. Today, according to the U.S. Real Estate Board, that house would be worth about $89,000. That's not bad. It went from $10,000 in 65 to $89,000 and change today. Most people would probably be pretty happy with that. On the other hand, if you had, back in 65, put that $10,000 into gold, and back then gold was about $35 an ounce, so I think it was 231 ounces. I am going from memory there, so I may be off by an ounce or two. But the bigger number I'm pretty certain on, that $10,000 today would be worth over $400,000. So, you know, real estate versus gold, you know, they're both nice options and stuff. But that's why we keep talking about silver and gold and their purchasing power versus the U.S. dollar. Anyway, we'll be talking about, or I'll be talking about that. If you're interested in a side gig, we'll be talking about ways to create additional income stream of $500 a week up to $12,500 a week without interfering with your current job. We'll be talking about how to learn about the compounding effect of residual income. with this precious metals model. And you know, I'm pretty short and quick. I mean, I will take probably 30 to 45 minutes to do the presentation. We'll talk about the tax advantages. You know, I'm not an accountant, a CPA, or an enrolled agent, so I'm not here to give tax advice, but I will tell you that if you are in business all of a sudden, and you're in business to make a profit, which is the key thing, according to the Internal Revenue Service. You can't just be in business and take write-offs. But if your goal is to make a profit, all of a sudden you do pick up the ability to you know, have some tax benefits from running a business. And so we'll talk about some of the tax advantages and stuff. And then I'll probably have a silver drawing. And like I said, I'll know by next week's show where our venue is and stuff. How much time we got, Matt?
Is that it? Are you done?
I was going to say, how much time we got?
Oh, we got looks like 3 minutes left.
3 minutes left. Oh, my gosh. What can we do in 3 minutes?
Tony, sorry.
What?
Spaced out there for a second.
Well, you know what? Mark your calendars. November 6th at about 9:52, Matt Pearson was spaced out for the first time in his life, probably the only time in his life.
I'm glad you understand.
To know Matt is
happened before, ever. I'm always just solid with my thinking.
to know Matt is to love Matt. I mean, the man's only
by the way.
he's only working 4 jobs or something. So you know, we cut him as much slack as we can and stuff. But anyway, I mean, I think that, you know, probably the best thing for me to do is a little bit of a wrap up. I mean, we covered the new devotional for the stewardship program, which hopefully you agree is a neat part of the show. We talked a little bit about my monthly delivery of my coin of the month from 7K, and the not only the coin itself and some of the benefits, but the 7K Getaway Card and how important that is, because I got to tell you, I'm finding out quickly that it does save a lot of money when it comes to travel. And then we talked a little bit about the update on prices for the different metals and so forth. I spent a few minutes talking about what I think is a neat project. I mean, I really do want to hear from a few folks. And as off the wall as your ideas may sound, I don't care. I mean, you know, I just think if we start thinking about the solution and quit dwelling in the problem, there's somebody in this country. We got 233 million people. Surely there's somebody that has an idea that, or ideas that can help us. Let's get out of this mess. You know, let's not have our kids and our grandkids, you know, inheriting a country that is so in debt that, you know, they're set up for failure. I mean, I don't think that's what, you know, we were supposed to do. I think this is the first generation where our children actually may be worse off than we are. So anyway, I guess that gets back to stewardship and stuff like that. But we talked about that. We talked a little bit about the nationaldebtclock.org, where you can go and see for yourself exactly what's going on with the national debt, and you'll be amazed when you pull it up on your phone or your computer. I mean, it's going. I mean, it's adding by the second all the different things that are going on in this country. So I would definitely check on that. And then we talked a little bit about the Think and Grow Rich quote that I had as far as the service work, and that's probably a neat note to end on, is if you're ever going to support a ministry, this would probably be a good one, because, you know, Acts Ministry is reaching out in a lot of different areas. They've got their ministry for veterans, they've got several other ministries, and all of them are doing wonderful things in their areas. And that's probably 3 minutes. Well, thank you for viewing. Thank you for tuning in. Next week we'll have some updates on this stuff, and have a great day.